In 2026, we're becoming the richest versions of ourselves, and that means sorting out where our money goes, how to invest our money. This is basically the series that tells you everything you need to know. In this episode, we are going to be talking about high yield savings account, because if you're not using one, then your money is just clocking in like an unpaid intern, and we don't want that. So what is a high yield savings account? It's basically a savings account that pays you more than a traditional high street bank that would pay you 0.01%. So right now, high yield savings accounts are usually paying you around 4 or 5%. Because let's not forget, inflation in the UK is around 3.6%.
So they say.
You're only really making a very small growth. So I have researched the best high yield savings accounts and I've put together my 5 top picks. Number 1 is Chase. This is the bank that I use. I get 1% cash back on my spending. More importantly, right now, they have a savings account where you can earn 4.5%. This is for new customers only. It's easy access. It has a £1 minimum and you get monthly interest. Number 2 is Chip. I personally have never tried them, but I've heard good things about them. They're currently offering 4.35%. It's app-based. It's £1 minimum again. You get instant withdrawals and also you can open an account in minutes. Number 3, Kahoot by Santander. This is currently paying 4.4%. The perks are it's easy access. You can have sole or joint accounts. You can get monthly or annual interest. You have a £1 minimum that you can put in. The downside is it is a variable rate, so it can drop after a year. Number 4 is Charter Savings Bank offering 4%. It's easy access, joint accounts are allowed. Number 5 is the Post Office. They're paying 4.05%. It's easy access, you can have sole or joint accounts. There's huge balance limits, and it's quite good for lump sums. Downside is the rate can change after 12 months.
Okay.
So those are some current high yield savings accounts that you could look into in the UK. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and follow for more content from me.
Listen, go follow the creator, but here's the funniest thing, right? 3.6% is the respective described inflation rate. For those of us who don't know, the inflation rate is the speed at which our money gets weaker. So if our money allows us to buy a loaf of bread at the beginning of the year for £1, then by the end of the same year, if the inflation rate is 3%, let's call it 3 for the sake of simple maths, by the end of the year, that same loaf of bread costs £1 3p. So the same £1 actually buys less. That's the rate at which, the speed at which our money gets weaker. Now, the challenge I have is high yield interest account, high yield savings account, but it's not much higher when you actually do the numbers, because if we go for the highest rate that was shared just now, 4.5%, all we have to do is some basic maths to do 4.5 take away 3.6, and we come to a very interesting number in the mix, and that interesting number in this example is 0.9. Now my question is, 0.9% is actually what you're making. Is this real? Because this is what we are being advised to focus on. This is what we are being advised in order to have one of the best financial years we've ever had to start to double down on. Now, look, let's do the maths. Let's do the maths together and literally look at this from a specific actual lens, right? So if we're saying that the inflation throughout each year, specifically right now, okay, inflation is 3.6%. And we're saying that we should go and jump into a high yield savings account. And these high yields are producing, in the sake of this video, let's just go for the 4.5, which was the first one, the one that the creator said she's actually using herself. Okay. So that 4.5 was coming, I believe, from the Chase bank account, right? And again, this is not my attempt to say to you, don't go and get a high yield savings account. This is my attempt to help you understand that cash flow, they say, is king. And there's a reason why. Because if you invest all your energy and all your resources in attempting to just park your money somewhere, then you're going to very quickly realize the place you park your money is doing the very thing that you should probably ultimately be doing with your money. Now, in the case of this example, I often say when you place your money in the bank, if what you were doing was so wise, the bank would then go and say, we got a great idea. Let's go save the same money in a bank. But they don't do that. What do they do instead? They invest that money. They go and put that money into activities that are going to generate them a 10, 20, 30, 40, a 10x on inflation, not a crumbs on top of inflation. But let's get back into these numbers. So 4.5% minus 3.6% is going to ultimately leave me with a 0.9% interest rate. Now, here's the problem, right? Gone are the days of the banks, or all the banks, let me put it this way, just saying to you, we're going to give you 1%, and you being happy. Gone are those days. Now are the days of the bank saying to you, we're going to give you 4.5%. But then when you actually do the maths in line with inflation, because they know you're getting smarter. They know you're watching this Samuel ICanWin content. They know that you have got a checkup from the neck up. And now that they know that you're thinking about things slightly differently, what's happening? It's not causing a change. It's causing them to rearrange the way they share their marketing. So it's now even more strange. And if you look at those numbers that we just literally outlined, those numbers indicate a very telling story. It's the same 0.1% you're creating. It's the same 0.9% you're getting. The only difference is that 0.9% now is coming after the factor of inflation rather than previously where it would have been coming pre-inflation. So if you're going to be paying out a 4.5% as a bank, and you know that inflation, for example, let's speculate here, inflation is at a 3.6%, then the people you're paying that interest to are still losing in relation to inflation. Now, it's not all going to be doom and gloom because you're probably thinking, well, Samuel, what do I do to get out of that room? How do I move further faster in my future? Now, obviously, one of the fastest ways I'm going to advise you to do is like, comment, and subscribe and become a part of the tribe. But if we really want to think about this, what you have to do is the thing that they do. I often heard it when I was young. Don't do as they say, do as they do. So let's take a quick, simple look at what the banks, both those who are providing high yield savings and those who are providing traditional savings, are actually doing after you are parking your money inside of them. Well, I'm going to tell you what they're doing. They're lending their money, in one sense, for people to go and buy properties in the form of mortgages. That's one of the things many of the high street lenders are doing. Many of the banks that we know today, that's the way that they get paid. They take the money that you and I park inside of them and they go and invest that money. Now, this is not financial advice. I'm just giving you, for educational purposes, a deep dive into an understanding of what these banks are doing. Now, banks also have some benefits that you and I unfortunately don't have, because we, as the normal constituent in the country, right, we have to follow certain guidelines with our money. We can't just take £1 and then tomorrow say that £1 is £9. But banks can do that through means of quantitative easing, through means of a whole bunch of other mathematical constructs that they can use. So a bank has the power, when they receive £1, to then say that £1 is equal to 9 separate pounds. And they can now go borrow that £9 to people, even though they don't have that 1 times £9 inside of the bank. They've only got the £1 that you dropped. Now, the reason this is important is because that means banks have an additional leverage beyond the actual monetary resource they actually have within their establishment. Now, you and I may not have that naturally. For every £1 you have, it's a £1. For every £1 I have, it's a £1. But how can we leverage our £1 so our £1 becomes profound? And there's several different ways it can be done. One of the simplest ways, which I talk about very often, is through means of vehicles such as property. If you are placing your money into a property, let's say you're putting down a 10% deposit, well, who gives you the rest of the money for that property? That 90%, to allow you to control hundreds of thousands of pounds of real estate and property on that transaction. The answer is the bank, through means of a mortgage. So leverage is one of the ways that most people get paid. And the way that it works is very simply similar, not exactly the same, but similar to how a bank takes £1 and then says it's £9. They're using leverage in order to go and invest at higher rates in order for them to generate more revenue. So the question we have to ask ourselves is, how are we going to fix the situation? Because if the content creator is correct on this one, and this year is your year of abundance and splendor and favor, and it's major, then I'm here to tell you the truth. The truth is, you can't just merely focus on something simple like a high yield savings account. Now, you can take advantage of your advantages and utilize your resources in the form of an investment. This is exactly what the people are doing who you are parking your money with in the first place. And I don't know if I'm just ranting right now or if I'm really getting through, but let me know in the comments what you think too. Is this something that you are going to take on board? Are you someone who's said years ago, you know what, I'm done with this. I'm done. It's a wrap. I'm not gonna keep up allowing this to happen to me, where I just park my money in these places and they literally give me nothing in exchanges? Let me know. Let me know. Let me know in the comments below. As I usually say, you know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe, become a part of the tribe. This is Samuel ICanWin signing out. And always remember that small keys open up big doors. I'll see you on the next one. Let's go.
Small keys open big doors.